Hello, my name is Michela Biseo. I'm here to talk to you about the new course at the BPF, Psychoanalytic or Psychodynamic Parent-Infant Psychotherapy. This course is over 2 years, centering on supervised practice. It'll include 18 months of theoretical clinical seminars, plus a reading group and a context group, and it's pending accreditation by the British Psychoanalytic Council. Who can train? Well, traditionally, this is a post-qualification training for highly specialist therapists. So the information is all listed on our website about what eligibility criteria you need to meet in order to train. There are two pathways, psychoanalytic and psychodynamic. The difference is only in the frequency of personal analysis. The course content and training is the same on both pathways. And again, there's more detail about this on the website and in these slides. And there'll be time for questions with my colleague Abel at the end. The content of the course really centers around practice supervision, so clinical supervision of your ongoing PIP work. It goes on for 2 years weekly, once a month. This is in person at the BPF house. And for the other weeks of the year, across 44 weeks of the year, this will be online. So it's a hybrid weekly supervision. On the month that you come on a Thursday to the BPF, 1 day a month on Thursdays, you'll have clinical discussion, case presentations with expert PIP clinicians. You'll have monthly theory and reading seminars on various themes, introduction to the model of PIP, infant mental health, the parent-infant relationship, relational trauma, perinatal states of mind, a number of different specialist practices unique to PIP work, such as working with the baby as a subject in their own right, working with the dyad triad in the room and with the wider network, and learning about specialist infant parent risk assessment and a particular tool to assess risk. There'll also be learning around the use of video in PIP work. We've also included a monthly context group, which is a group for the trainees in PIP to meet to discuss their changing professional identity as they transition perhaps from clinical psychology or child psychotherapy or adult psychoanalysis into their professional identification as a parent-infant psychotherapist. And the idea is to really hold the voice of the infant in the team and networks, and as you develop and grow into a consultant expert. So where do people generally come from who are doing this training, and where are they working? Typically, PIP work is done in a multidisciplinary team where there's psychiatry, psychology, nursery nurses, OTs, mental health nurses, and there's a lot of contact with midwifery, health visiting, GPs, and other adult mental health services, as well as generic community children's centres and so on. Some practitioners also are employed and work in mother and baby units or specialist parenting assessment residential units. That's where there's higher risk, either to do with mental health of the parent or to do with neglect or serious harm potentially coming to the child. In England, PIP is usually offered in the NHS, either in CAMS teams or parent-infant teams, PIPs, pairs, PIMS, they can be called different names. And most of the trainees who come on the course already in employment. And if that's not the case, we have a number of agreements with honorary contracts that can be set up. The time commitment for the course, on average over the 2 years, is probably 1 day per week, even when you're not attending for that once a month full day at the BPF. There are usually 3 of those days per 10-week term. The weekly supervision continues over 44 weeks of the year. You'll be taking on 4 cases over the course of the 2 years, all of which are discussed in group supervision. There'll be reading, note-taking. If you are using film, which is something we encourage our trainees to use, there'll be revision of film, which takes quite a time. There'll be termly tutor meetings. And the element of personal analysis is also a big time commitment. So yes, you do need to be in psychoanalytic therapy. It will depend on what you've had in the past as to what you need and require to be eligible to apply, and also while you're training. And again, all the detail is in these slides and on the website. So you must have had some psychotherapy in the past before applying, and the frequency will determine which category you can register in. If you've already had, if you're coming from a psychoanalytic previous training, then you need to just undertake a minimum of once monthly sessions with a psychoanalyst during the course, during the 2-year course. If you're coming from an entirely different non-psychoanalytic orientation, such as clinical or counselling psychology or systemic family therapy, the course is a psychoanalytically oriented one, and it is pending accreditation by the British Psychoanalytic Council, which would then hopefully mean you could register as a registrant of the BPC, as a PIP therapist, but you would need to fulfill certain prerequisites in order to be acceptable. And they're listed here. One of them that's obviously just been mentioned, personal analysis. There's also a psychoanalytic infant observation requirement. And if you've no background in the theory of psychoanalysis, there's a component of a course that you need to undertake as well. So what is PIP? It is an applied model of psychoanalytic psychotherapy. The model that we teach was developed by a team of mainly child and adult psychoanalysts at the Anna Freud Center over many years, and has taken views from attachment theory, developmental psychology, affect regulation theory, developmental neuroscience, and tried to integrate this modern knowledge and biological and social, ecological knowledge into the model. So at its heart, it is an independent psychoanalytic modality rooted in Anna Freudian and Winnicottian frameworks. And I've put the reference to a book that was written by the team that developed the model that we'll be teaching here, which is called Claiming the Baby. So what does it really look like? Do we put babies on the couch like this? Well, no, we don't. But it is a practice in which the baby is at the center of our analytic work. The infant is a subject in their own right. So you may say, well, who is the patient? Often the referral centers on the maternal states. It can also center on fathers who are having difficulties or co-parents. But really, our model of practice tries to center the relationship. So the relationship between the infant and their parents, and taking into account that the infant also has their own capacities and unconscious processes, fantasies, likes, dislikes, defenses, and is a very active participant in shaping the relationship. Although they have fewer ways in which to do this, being non-verbal or pre-verbal, they're a very active participant. So the aims of PIP really are to center the infant, to think about the relationship and be mindful of the parent-infant relationship, which may or may not mean also accessing with the parent some historical and biographic information about their story. That may well be relevant, but it's not the main aim. It is actually quite a here and now based therapy. So who can we help? Problems can be located in different areas, which gives the therapy different ports of entry. They can be centered on the baby. So the baby may be seen as difficult, having regulatory difficulties, colic, crying, sleeping, feeding, settling. The parent may be identified as the primary port of entry, as having perhaps postnatal depression, both in mothers and fathers and other co-parents, or anxiety, or other losses or trauma that have impacted them, perhaps antenatally, as well as in early parenthood, or perhaps historically. The problem may be located in the referral by identifying a lack of joy in the relationship. Sometimes that's called a lack of bonding, or there's observed concern by agencies, and that would then be approaching possible risk categories if there was neglect, for example. And there may be other couple, family, or sibling difficulties which are impinging on the baby and on the family's relationship with the baby and the babies with them. And that just to give you a flavour of what kind of families come for parent-infant psychotherapy. How do we help? Well, this is what the course will be teaching. Perhaps it seems very obvious that we'll be doing, as parent-infant psychotherapists, a lot of modelling, how you talk to a baby, how you be with a baby, how you allow a baby to take the lead. There may also be other forms of modelling, such as how to speak to a baby about upsetting things, or to soothe or calm a baby. There may be reframing that goes on, which might include some developmental education. For example, if a baby is seen as particularly manipulative or difficult, that we might then explore that and its roots, but also we may want to set that in the context of the baby's development. The model also is focused on a mind-minded approach, i.e. thinking with the parent how the baby's mind might be experiencing certain things, and helping the parent to mentalize and understand the mental states, views, opinions, thoughts, feelings of the baby. The therapist tries to remain infant-centered, so there's a lot of use of the observation skills that you would have learned in your parent-infant observation. There's a lot of narration for the baby using the voice of the infant. We also encourage our trainees to include and acknowledge the external real impingements, such as racism, poverty, and homelessness, that are actually impinging on the families that our trainees are working with, whilst also untangling the more unconscious processes, projections or ghosts, repetitions from the past of trauma or hostility that may be impacting on the relationship. And we try to consider what unconscious processes and defenses are at play in the baby as well as between the family members and between the therapist and the family. So I hope this has given a sense of what PIP is and what the course will be focused on. And the teaching team is led by me with my colleagues, Carol Broughton, Claudia Campos, Abel Fagin, who you'll be able to ask questions with later after this talk. And there are other external teachers and clinician experts who will contribute, such as Tessa Baradon, Amanda Jones, Sarah Rance, Coretta Ogbuago, and others. Thank you.
So yeah, now's an opportunity to ask any questions, to put them in the Q&A box, and yeah, we'll just leave it open for you. Haven't had any questions so far, so I don't know, perhaps leave it open for 5 minutes or so, maybe. An opportunity just to kind of take your time to if you want, and then pop the questions in the chat. So the next intake, I would imagine that would be probably around 18 months, maybe before that. I would certainly recommend just to check the website and look for updates on that. Yes, so the first question is, can you go straight from this training, initial psychodynamic training, if you've already been working voluntarily in parent-infant work? I think that there is some there would be some flexibility around that if you've met the requirements regarding your own personal therapy with a BPC therapist, that you've done the infant obs training, and I guess you would have done the foundation in psychoanalytic work already. Then yes, you could join. Just to reiterate, if you wanted to go down the psychoanalytic route, there would be the higher frequency of therapy compared to the psychodynamic route. So the next question: what's the balance of teaching versus discussion participation in typical class? So we are all practitioners, parent-infant practitioners, and very much it's led by our clinical work, and we try to incorporate the teaching and theory alongside real life cases and discussions, and there is maybe I think an hour and a half talk component once a month, and a reading group too. We're trying to organize this talk component around a clinical theme, where most likely we would bring a case presentation too, and very much so, and what's worked very well in the past is that we would, because everyone already has a lot of expertise that they're bringing. It would be almost like an opportunity for a wide case supervision, discussion, bringing
I think we might have lost Abel for a second there, and his signal might have gone. So we'll give him a couple of minutes to join us again. In the meantime, can everyone continue to post their questions in the Q&A box, and we'll see if we can get Abel back.
in your own ideas. Sorry, I just got disconnected there.
That's okay, Abel. Yeah, you're back online now, so that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So if you do a dual psychodynamic Jungian track, can you? Oh, I think, is that a question for before? It might be.
Yeah, I think it might be.
How would candidates go on taking about cases, placements, and parent-infant work? So we do have opportunities for placements that we can help you with. Many of the candidates that apply for the course already are doing this work, and may be able to sort that out within their current employment. But we can certainly help you with that, and please get in touch with Michela, but beforehand. Her address is on the website. If you kind of need any help in working towards that for the beginning of the training. So I'm interested in becoming a child psychotherapist. Where would this course sit in the journey to becoming a child psychotherapist? Done a foundation course in counseling psychotherapy. So this is a post qualification training. So applicants would have already been practicing as a psychotherapist, psychologist before coming onto this course. So, for example, in this cohort, there are a number of child psychotherapists that have joined. So this training would come after that. What do you love about parent-infant work, and what brought you into it? Wow, that's I think that you can. It's a window that you can do incredible amount of change with both parent and baby. It's an opportunity to help babies at the beginning of their lives, where the foundation years are so critical to their development. I think parents are can be much more open and reflective and willing to address the difficulties and struggles, because they want to be the best parent that they can be. And it's very creative, it's very playful. I find it always challenging. I'm always learning. You also get a huge range of people that you get to work with, yeah, I mean, I never get tired, never get tired. Well, I do get tired because it can be very challenging, but I never get tired of the work and my interest in it. I'm yeah, I think there's lots of room for development too. In how you practice, and you know, you can specialize in particular areas within parent-infant work. You know, for example, I'm doing a lot more work with fathers and babies now. It hasn't been kind of commonplace before, and you know, I think it's really exciting that there's kind of opportunities to do that and kind of make the work your own. So how would candidates go on as is it possible to qualify in the US as a PIP if you have worked a few years in the UK? I'm not sure about what exactly you mean about that. Could you clarify that question? I'm not sure. So would you what you would move to? You asking about whether the qualification would be recognized in the US? Could you just clarify that? Is this course suitable for MA, PhD outside of the UK? Yeah, I'm not sure whether that the question about personal Jungian analysis was related to the PIP training or the previous one. Can you clarify that one? What kind of volunteer work would you advise for someone who comes from a different professional context and is looking to first train as a psychoanalytic psychotherapist and then build towards parent-infant work? I mean, I would say any working with from pregnancy till, you know, under twos, under threes. So, you know, whether it be, I guess, in a nursery setting or different or groups for young children, just any opportunities really where you would be able to learn observational skills and capacity and build on your capacity to engage and connect with babies and their parents. I think just time to kind of build your confidence and feel kind of more at ease being in that setting, just so that you can kind of you know, really get to, you know, imagine and curious what the world is like through a toddler's eyes. I would certainly recommend that. Yes, so this course would then be suitable, as long as your analyst is registered with the BPC, and you have done the infant observation course, then you would be eligible. The US question. So I'm from Hawaii and may move back in 10 years. So I'm not sure with the US recognize the BBC accreditation. I don't know if anyone else could help me with answering that. I mean, I think it probably depends on what kind of job you're going for. You know, some places will be open to an equivalent qualification. I mean, it is a very thorough training, and you know, you would have already had a previous qualification. So I imagine that in some posts there would be, you know, flexibility. If you know, I guess they would need to look at the you know, how the BBC does their accreditation and whether it fits their own, whether there's equivalence. So yeah, I think that's a similar question. Are BBC qualifications recognised outside of the UK? Yeah, again, if I haven't given a great answer on that, if there is anyone else that could, and perhaps you could email that to Sandra in admin, and she would be able to forward that to someone who could give you more detail.